Welcome to the Fundamentals of Digital Audio 3-part series. My name is Matt. I'll be your instructor. So who is this course for? This course is for aspiring audio producers, engineers, musicians, live sound technicians, or anybody who cares about how sound works. Why take this course? When I first got into audio recording, I didn't take the time to learn the basics of audio. I wanted to jump right in and start playing with plugins without understanding the fundamentals. It cost me a lot of bad recordings and wasted hours. I've separated the goals of this series into 3 videos. After watching this video, part 1, you will have an understanding of how sound works and the 3 elements of sound. After watching the next video, part 2, you will have an understanding of how to capture and play audio through digital and analog tools. After watching part 3, you will have an understanding of all the tools required to capture audio for music or other types of media. Let's jump into the main idea of this lesson, the physics and 3 main elements of sound. Sound is the vibration, pushing, or pulling of molecules in a medium. When sound occurs, it moves in a wave-like motion. You may remember this image of a sine wave from high school physics. A sine wave is the most basic tone in sound. The peaks of a sound wave are compressions, or high-pressure collisions of molecules. The valleys are rarefactions, or points of low-pressure molecule separation. Combined, these elements create what our ears interpret as sound. The distance between peak to peak, or valley to valley, is a sound's wavelength. The amount of wavelengths that happen over the course of 1 second is the sound's frequency. Frequency is one of the 3 main elements of sound. We measure frequency in hertz. In other words, a 450 hertz sound is a sound wave that cycles up and back down again 450 times over the course of a second. Let me make it even easier. The frequency of a sound wave determines its pitch. Listen as I play a 450 hertz sine wave. Now watch and listen to what happens as I increase the frequency to 20,000 hertz, or 20 kilohertz. If you have any dogs in the room, this should be pretty funny. Notice how when I get to 20,000 hertz, you can't even really hear it anymore. That's because the range of human hearing is from about 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, although depending on if you've damaged your ears or not, it can be more narrow. The equal loudness curve, also known as the Fletcher-Munson curve, is a graph of how humans perceive loudness. You and I hear certain frequencies louder than others. We perceive the frequency range of the human voice much louder than high-end or low-end frequencies. What does this mean for you? If you want the perceived loudness of all frequencies in your sound to be equal, you need to boost the low and high frequencies. Sometimes the song sounds great without any psychoacoustic wizardry, but this principle is crucial to keep in the back of your mind. The second element of sound is amplitude. Amplitude is the amount of energy in a sound wave at a given time. In other words, amplitude is volume. While we measure frequency over time across the x-axis, we measure amplitude by the height of the waveform on the y-axis. We measure amplitude with a logarithmic unit called decibels, abbreviated as dB. The softest sound a human being can hear is 0 decibels. I'll begin our next section on timbre, the third element of sound, by asking a question. When recording a song, why would an artist play the exact same notes on both a piano and an acoustic guitar? If it's the same frequency, pitch, and amplitude, volume, what difference does it make if we play it on 2 different instruments? The answer may seem obvious because it's intuitive. We all know that a piano and a guitar have different tonal qualities. This is because the medium of a piano is much different than the medium of a guitar. You remember how sound travels through mediums, right? In other words, the timbre of an acoustic guitar is different from the timbre of a piano. This is why we layer up an acoustic guitar part and a piano part playing the exact same thing. Combined, they can create a richer and more melodically interesting sound. So let's review the three elements of sound. Frequency, the amount of sound wave cycles in a second, determines pitch. A key on the far left side of the piano has a low frequency, and a key on the far right side of the piano has a high frequency. We measure frequency across time on the x-axis. Amplitude, the energy of the sound wave, determines volume or loudness. A softly played note has a lower amplitude than one played at a higher velocity. We measure amplitude along the y-axis. A good tip for remembering what amplitude does is to think of an amplifier. Timbre is the characteristic tone of a particular instrument. Take electric guitars, for example. Two Gibson Les Pauls made at the same factory in the same year will have different timbres. Temperature, humidity, string gauge, and newness, and 1,000 other things affect a guitar's timbre. As musicians, this should excite us. The creative tonal possibilities are endless. That concludes the first video on the fundamentals of digital audio. If you've enjoyed the video, please subscribe and then click the bell next to the subscribe button. Stay tuned for the next video on how to record audio using analog and digital tools. Thanks for watching.